The Go Nuclear Late Models once again take center stage on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. In this episode, we return to the Utica-Rome Speedway for their lone late model event of the year. It's the former home for many competitors in the field as they look to battle the Tour Invaders in the second annual Gnome Cup. Who will take home the trophy? Find out next on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. Hello and welcome to the Atomic Power Racing Hour featuring the Go Nuclear Late Models. I'm Doug Elkins. Today we are here for race number 3 of the 2015 season. We're in Vernon, New York, a little bit to the east of Syracuse, as we have race number 3, the Gnome Cup, second race and the third time the cars have ever been here to the Utica-Rome Speedway. Rich Bleck will be joining me for the play-by-play. Rich, we've got a great field of cars at a track that really provides some awesome racing.
Yeah, the track's one of the stars of tonight's racing action. Two reasons. One, the way it breaks down over the course of the night. And the other big thing that these drivers have to deal with, they see the track only once a year, but a lot of competitors in the field tonight have run this track on a weekly basis in other cars before they got into the late models. It's about letting the big dogs eat, but then again, they're under the same power, so it should be fun to watch.
A lot of racing grooves here at Utica-Rome. We'll get to the heat races here in a little bit, but first let's check in with Paul Small.
Some racetracks are horsepower tracks. Utica-Rome Speedway is more of a momentum and handling track, and this is why. We're standing on the inside of turn 2, and if you look over my left shoulder, you can see how this track's got a little bit of progressive banking to it, where it's a little bit flatter on the bottom, and there's that lip up at the outside edge of the corner. This is a very wide corner, and it's usually a very slick racing surface here, and it bottlenecks coming off turn 2 into turn 3. The whole idea of this racetrack is to try to keep the car relatively straight and keep that all-important forward momentum going. That's how you get to victory lane here.
Thanks, Paul. Unique race here today at Utica-Rome Speedway. It's the second annual Gnome Cup. Rich, what's a Gnome Cup?
I don't know. Last year they said they were going to figure out what track it was at. It landed here at Utica and gave a trophy away. There's a new one this year, and we're still at the Gnome Cup. Whatever it is, anytime there's a title on a race, people want to win it a little bit more, and they want to win any race they can, but it's the Gnome Cup.
I've said years ago they'd race for a basket full of apples if you put them out there and told them that's what they're racing for. So let's talk to the drivers and see what do they think about maybe taking this Gnome Cup home today.
I think it's one of those small guys that sits in your garden.
That would be Shane Tenase with a pointed hat.
Well, a gnome is a small mythical creature known to have habitat in gardens and the like, small bearded gentlemen. Mostly, occasionally you see a female gnome, but unfortunately short supply.
I have no idea. When they first said there was a Gnome Cup coming to Utica-Rome, I said, well, that's cool. Then I had to find out what a gnome was.
I'm going to blame Shane on that one. He's all about the gnome.
Quite frankly, I was bored with the Nationals, the USA, this and that. And somebody was torturing me, calling me the gnome and pointing out, giving me little pictures on Facebook of my likeness in gardens. And I said, well, by golly, since it is all about me, why not name a race after myself?
Don't know. Hopefully because they're parked out front, and that's where I hope I am at the end of the night.
Before he could get parked out front, the cars needed to take to the track for time trials.
And you just saw John Waters saying wants to be in victory lane. He's on a good start. He was the fastest in heat race number 1's time trial group. They time within their heat race group that they already know they're going to be in. He was quickest of group number 1. Laszlo Holyfield, quickest of group number 2. This is only his 3rd start this year.
And it's really quite a surprise for him to do that well, like you said, without a lot of starts at a track that is notoriously tough. Brett Belden, he knows this place well.
Knows it well, has run it since he started racing on the dirt and got a great run. He was quickest in group number 3, and another guy that knows the track pretty well was fastest in group number 4.
Dale Caswell, former IMCA modified driver, fastest in group number 4. We'll get to those qualifying heat races when we come back. You're watching the Atomic Power Racing Hour. Welcome back to the Utica-Rome Speedway as Dale Caswell and John Waters, you saw them earlier, they were some of the fast timers in their time trial group. Qualifying heats are now complete. Let's take a look back at what happened as the drivers try to make it into this Gnome Cup event here at the Utica-Rome Speedway.
Well, John Waters was very quick in his time trials. That means that the fastest timer starts fourth in their heat race. You see him in the white, black, and blue, number 11. Go into turn number 1 on the opening lap and spin it around. Rare to see for a driver that won a tour race last year at the Humberstone Speedway. Has been doing a great job. Here's an onboard camera look to give you an idea of maybe what could have happened, and really I'm not sure.
Yeah, sometimes, well, it is a dirt track. It's not as smooth as an asphalt track would be, so every now and then you hit a little bump and around she goes. Restart here with Sandercock struggling early on.
Yeah, the 57 of Charlie Sandercock, a driver that, normally just drives his way right up to the front of the track, was 5th fastest in the time trial. So he had to start further back than some of the others, and he just did not move forward. The 11, though, of John Waters, remember, had to go to the back because of the spin. You see him on the bottom, coming up through 6th, 5th, gets underneath Charlie Sandercock, goes after Alan Fink for position number 4. He was on a mission.
It's one of those standard deals where you race the track instead of the drivers, let them come up out of the groove, and you can see by here he was already up to 4th place.
Yeah, the key was to be locked down on the bottom of the speedway, at least for him, the way his car was set up. Remember, John Waters and Darren Peters had an epic duel in our last episode at the Ohsweken Speedway. Peters came out on top on that one. Waters looked good here. Meanwhile, there was a battle for the race lead. Bryce Davis in the 94 and driver Johnny Hill, a little local driver in the 160. They duked it out for the lead as Waters got up to 3rd.
Yeah, Johnny Hill was one of those guys who made it up from IMCA when the track that he was racing at dropped the class, decided to go up in a late models, and I was impressed at how good he was at a track he doesn't know well here at Utica-Rome.
Good on the bottom, got a little bit, took a lead, and thought he was going to run away with it, but Bryce Davis stayed on the top of the speedway. Obviously, the top is where the momentum can be built up if you hit your line correctly. And the driver out of Canisteo, New York, makes a long trip up to be here today in the 94, put it up to the top of the racetrack, and kept his momentum built up as Hill was having a little bit of trouble on the inside, and it would be finally Bryce Davis taking the lead away for good.
And, of course, look who snuck in there to 3rd place, coming from the back after the spin, but it was Darren Peters. Here he goes over the bank, and, well, that means Charlie Sandercock gets that last transfer spot.
So the 2 winners on tour already this season would transfer that spot. Sandercock would get in, Peters wouldn't. Waters would get around Johnny Hill for the 2nd and final redraw spot. Bryce Davis would pick up the win in qualifier number 1, and we heard from him after.
The car was great. Track's slick. Took me a little bit to figure out how to run it, but once we got going, we were pretty good.
Second qualifying heat would take to the track next. Kevin Cook, another former IMCA modified driver, would jump out to the front early.
Yeah, and you see these drivers transferring over for good reason, and Cook did pretty well on the opening start, got away from the pack. Then it was Brandon Ford, former Sportsman driver, even runs it once in a while now, and Dustin Waters in the 14. You saw his brother John in qualifier number 1. Things did not go as well for Dusty in the 14. He'd slip up the racetrack, and here comes Laszlo Holyfield again. He was on the move in the white number 4, got it to the inside into position number 3 on lap number 2 to get by Waters.
And I'm impressed again. We talked about this when you saw him in the time trials, but this is a guy, I think you can take the runs he's had this season and put them on one hand.
Absolutely.
Impressive what he's doing. He's normally a Brewer and Fulton guy too, so did very well here. Here's a guy here that knows big tracks pretty well, Billy Isley.
Yeah, Can-Am regular, so likes the big half miles. He would move up the racetrack, actually get up into 3rd after Laszlo Holyfield was able to get the 2nd and final redraw spot away from Brandon Ford after Ford lost that spot. You see the car just kind of stepping out in the middle of the racetrack, too loose. Isley would be able to pass him a few laps later.
And coming to Utica-Rome for a lot of years, the middle's tough to run, but it was no problem for Kevin Cook. He held his car down onto the bottom side of the racetrack, and you can see there's nobody behind him here as he comes out of turn 4. Kevin Cook with a convincing win in his qualifying heat race number 2.
I started on the pole and just kept it on the bottom and tried to make my marks happen.
Sometimes that's what you got to do, race the racetrack like we were talking about. 3rd qualifying heat, A.J. Kingsley and J.J. Coursey in the front here early.
Yeah, J.J. Coursey, kind of the rental driver for the night, taking the Richie Riggs 39. Kingsley would jump out in the early sessions. Now, as much history as he has at the racetrack, only his 3rd start at the Utica-Rome Speedway, all in late models. He had not seen the track other than the Go Nuclear events that have been here in the past, but did a nice job holding to the bottom. There was a mad scramble going on behind him as Kingsley and Coursey battled it out for the lead. Brett Belden and Aaron Jacobs come together just a little bit out of the picture. Belden and Phil Potts would get knocked out of the event. Good battle for the race lead, though.
And again, I'm impressed here with J.J. Coursey, another guy who does not have a lot of starts, primarily been running sportsman cars this year. You mentioned Kingsley, not a lot of laps here, but he grew up at this track. His dad promoted races here for a long time.
Absolutely. So Coursey, only his second late model start of the year, would finally take the lead away, just like Bryce Davis did in heat race number 1, rolling the top of the racetrack. But so too was Aaron Jacobs, the local driver from right down the road in the suburb of Utica called Frankfurt, would move around the outside of Kingsley, coming to the white flag, get into that second and final redraw spot, and he was not done yet.
Yeah, and there's a guy, unlike the other two guys he's racing against here, he's raced this track and you name it. Pretty much any type of car they've raced here, Aaron Jacobs has been in it.
Yeah, and also running his sportsman car here tonight in competition. But look at Jacobs going into the final set of corners, peek it down to the bottom. Coursey got way loose in the 39, and Jacobs would scoot on by.
Jacobs with the win in heat number 3.
Oh man, that heat race, you know, we time trialed decent and it felt good there, and then we went and heat race, started third, and we were up to third, and Belden got by me, and I was underneath him going into 1, and he just turned down on me and about spun me out, and I regrouped, fell back to 5th, and I said, we're going to start picking them off one by one, and that's what we did. And you know, as my tires came in, the car got better and better every lap we ran, so I'm pretty excited for the feature. I think we got something really good here.
Aaron Jacobs excited, but there was one more qualifying heat race to go. Chris Fleming, and this is getting old, another IMCA modified driver moving to late models, he would take the lead early.
And just like Dale Caswell, the green and black 19 on the outside, another guy really fighting in those lanes. A top-level driver in another division comes over. They know how to approach setting up for a racetrack, and Fleming jumped out in front. But a good 3-wide battle for spot number 2 between 3 drivers that have won races on the Go Nuclear Tour in the past, including Lee Gill, the first ever Go Nuclear champion in the 125. He engages in a long battle with Chris Fleming, and like we saw in the earlier heat races, running the top, running the bottom, the track as even as it could be. Some great preparation to the big half mile this afternoon.
Yeah, and usually we were talking about this with Brandon Ford earlier. It's usually either high, very, very high at Utica-Rome, or very, very low. And Lee Gill, another one of those Can-Am guys, likes these big half miles. He won a race back at Can-Am back in June, where Fleming, he was primarily a Brewer and a Fulton Speedway guy, so this is not a track he knows well, and Lee Gill was able to get ahead here.
Yeah, Fleming looking for his first career late model win. He is doing great at Fulton in his weekly track with 4 runner-up finishes, but still looking for that first win. Now, a caution would come out on lap number 6 for a spin. On the restart, Gill would go right back to the top, and Fleming would go to the bottom, and they would engage in a great battle all the way to the end. It would be a good one for 2 more laps. Fleming looked like he had him down on the inside rail of the racetrack, and again, just a matter of, are you hitting the right piece of dirt? Did you catch the right bite? Did you overspin the tires? It's never a perfect science when it comes to slippery dirt tracks, and that's what Utica is.
Yeah, and the thing with Utica, too, is the way the trees are in turn 3 and 4. The track sits in the shadows for a good part of the day, so usually there's a little bit more bite in 3 and 4 than there is in 1 and 2, and then you'd think there would be one groove that would benefit, but basically it just shakes up the race and makes it even better.
A great duel all the way back to the finish. Fleming keeping around the inside rail as they were coming to the white flag. And again, no idea who's going to pick up the heat race win. Both of them won qualifying heats at Can-Am in our first race of the season and did fairly well out at the Ohsweken Speedway. 2 guys running for the championship this year and already come in the top 5 in points. Again, both were going to make the redraw. The matter was who was going to pick up the win, and we'll let you watch it off of turn number 4 as Gill would get the momentum on the outside and sneak it out by half a car length.
Gill gets the win in the final qualifying heat race.
Heat race went pretty good. Place is slippery and kind of like how I like it. I'm not a heavy racetrack guy. Doesn't look like there's a lot of margin for error, so it went good.
20 drivers have locked themselves into the feature event, which means that 12 others, including Adam Turner, need to strap back into their late models and race their way in through the B main. The final 4 spots to be awarded next on the Atomic Power Racing Hour.
Need a better way to listen to music? Come into the 21st century with Tenace Home Cinema and Music Systems. Tenace provides music impeccably reproduced from the world's most outstanding manufacturers. If we carry it, we believe in it, as if the musicians are playing live in your home. Knowledge matters, quality matters, and when that point comes to upgrade, Tenace will be there.
Electricity. You flip a switch, the lights go on. But will we have safe supplies of electricity to meet our fast-growing needs? Today, nuclear energy provides 1/5 of America's electricity. Tomorrow, it could supply even more. And nuclear power plants don't emit greenhouse gases, so they preserve our environment. We need to reduce our dependence on foreign energy. And we also need clean air. With nuclear energy, we can do both. Nuclear, putting clean air energy to work.
Sick of staticky headphones you bought at the dollar store? Come to your senses and enjoy music once again. At Sense, we recognize that not one size fits all. It's your music. Sense believes it should be your choice in how to listen to it. Enjoy crystal clear audio with comfortable and fresh styles that suit you. Don't conform to the norm. Get what you want and listen with your senses. The Go Nuclear Late Model Challenge Series is presented by Excel Tower Service, Atomic Chassis, Humber Nurseries, Deer Haven Victory, Grills and Ovens, Insinger Performance, Gillies Napa, Divots Excavating, BA Custom Headers, SUNY Canton, C. Smith Automotive Machine Shop, McDonald Homes, Trick Race Parts, HVH Super Suckers, and Tenace Music Systems.
Welcome back to the Utica-Rome Speedway race number 3 for the Go Nuclear late models here on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. Qualifying heat races are complete. These are the drivers that did not make it in their qualifying heats. They have one more chance to make it in. Rich, this is the B-Main.
And this is a good field for sure. The B-Main winner from last year here, Mike Trapp's going to be on the pole with some of the local drivers like Brett Belden starting near the back. But we mentioned Trapp, he and Shane Tenace on the front row.
Row number 2, Eli Mayhew and Jason Knowles.
Darren Peters, the winner to Schweeken, and Greg Bellier to the outside.
Wow, here's the 2 drivers, Phil Potts and Adam Turner. You don't see them in the B-Main much.
No, of course. And as we said, Brett Belden, one of the Utica mainstays and favorites. Along with Adam Turner, they carry our onboards as we are green and underway. 10 laps of the distance, top 4 punch their ticket into the Gnome Cup.
A little ragged on the start there. Darren Peters up to the top side of the racetrack. But now out of turn number 2, it's going to be Mike Trapp who's going to take the lead, but maybe not for long.
Jason Knowles scoots back down to the bottom in the number 4. Trapp from the North Country. Well, the 4 of Jason Knowles from the southern tier of New York, so they probably live about 8 hours apart. They come together off of turn number 4, and Knowles will lead lap number 1.
Knowles is one of those guys came over from the BRP Can-Am series. Oh, and Eli Mayhew's got a problem here early, and the yellow flag is out. The driver from north of the border in Canada brings out the yellow, and while we've got a moment, let's check in with Paul Small. He's going to tell us a little bit about aerodynamics, important in all forms of racing, but how is it here with the late models?
Okay, first off, we need to warn you, this Tech Minute does contain spoilers. No, I'm not going to tell you who won the main event already. We're going to talk about the spoilers on these Go Nuclear late models and how they relate to these rear side windows. See how this is a solid piece of material? This is old school dirt late model. This is the way these pieces have been for a number of years. The air flows through the cockpit of the car and then over this rear spoiler, which creates the rear downforce that pushes this car down on the racetrack. But drivers are now taking advantage of what we consider to be a little bit of a gray area in the rule book. It's a rear window. Nobody said it had to be a solid piece. So now you have drivers who are basically just creating the silhouette of a rear side window. And even when the car is traveling sideways on the racetrack, air is flowing through this gap and out to that all-important rear spoiler to give them even more downforce.
Interesting, and you could see that extra piece that they had on the spoiler there, and I could see how that would make a difference when you're going through the corner.
And really, here at Utica, it means such a big deal. Some of the local tracks that they run at, it's not going to do a whole lot, but aerodynamics is important here. Now, single file or Delaware file restart being utilized. The leader's in his own row. Everybody else is too wide, and you can see how that breaks out as Knowles jumps out in front of the field and a mad scramble into turn number 1 for second.
And no, we don't blame you if you're looking at all the windows on the car now trying to figure out who's doing the good job. Mike Trapp up to second, Darren Peters and Phil Potts. And Potts has come back from row number 4 up to run in 4th position right now.
Potts had a good run in time trials. It was disallowed because he was light on the scales. Adam Turner looks to the outside of the 90 92. Remember, Potts and Turner had that epic finish at Cornwall last year for the race win, and just in front of them, Darren Peters, who won the last race at Ohsweken. There are some big names in this B main, and here comes Brett Belden through the middle.
And you can see, boy, Turner just working about as high up on the racetrack as he can possibly get, hoping, of course, that Brett Belden knows he's there, but Turner's making that work up there.
4 cars battling for 2 final transfer spots. Potts down to the bottom, Peters in the middle, Turner on the outside, 3 wide for spot number 3.
That's good stuff right there. And look on the bottom, it's going to be the 29 of Potts. No, he pushed right there in the middle of the corner.
Pushed big time, did he? Potts in the 29, a regular at the Brighton Speedway, as is the 92 of Adam Turner. Belden working to the outside of the racetrack, his second year in a late model after coming over from the Pro Stocks. Contact between Peters and Potts. Say that 3 times fast. And now Peters
right.
is back to 6th. Again, surprising to see for the driver from Ontario. Came all the way here today, fresh off the win at Ohsweken. Right now, he's 2 spots outside of transferring.
There you go. And, of course, see Darren Peters, he's fallen back a little bit from Belden, who seems to be pretty much married to that middle to top line that he's been working. As you see the car on the bottom there getting a little bit loose out of turn number 4. That's Potts.
Yeah, Potts is trying to pin it down there because he knows how important it is as we've hit the halfway point. But the car is really kind of violent on him, drifting up the racetrack. Brett Belden keeping it smooth and steady in the number 81, a guy that is now running weekly at the Fulton Speedway and has done pretty well to start off the year, but looking for that first win. Potts pulls up in front of him, and Belden will hold on 1 spot outside of the transfer position. Dives to the inside.
And some of you might be saying, well, gee, I don't like that move by Potts, but this is a dirt track. You have to look around, and if you see those cars in front of you and they're getting smaller, it's time to change your groove up just a little bit.
Now, we're getting hit with the sunlight a little bit more than Belden is, as he's got those taped-up visors, but that's always the trick here at Utica. About this time of the night, it can be a brute driving into turn number 3 with all that sun.
Yeah, and later they take a break right at that point when the sun is at its worst, so that'll be right after this race and before the features come out. But we've got a good battle going on here with 3 to go.
Yeah, battle for the race lead. Pulling into lap traffic. To the outside goes Mike Trapp. Down to the bottom of the racetrack goes Jason Knowles. I'm surprised Trapp has been able to reel him back in by doing exactly what he did earlier. They get by the lap car of Eli Mayhew. And with 2 to go, again, both drivers safely into the show, but there's always some bragging rights for winning any event.
Yeah, there's no points here. There's no money for the B-Main or anything like that. So, yeah, they just want to get up there and race and see what they have as well. Now you can see Turner having a little trouble with the car of Mayhew, and this might cost him 3rd place.
Yeah, looks like Potts is going to get to the inside as Mayhew goes around. The yellow flag will fly 1 lap shy of the finish.
So it's the second time that Mayhew has brought out the caution. And I can see what happened that time. You know, he's running up at the top part of the racetrack. He's got 2nd or 3rd and 4th right down on the inside. Let's see, how high did he get over there? Oh, just came around on him.
Yeah, snapped loose in a weird spot. A lot of times you'll see a guy kind of push the nose or get the right rear over the berm. That did not happen.
And at Utica-Rome, one of the lines that a lot of the drivers run is right up on that lip, and it is a fine line. You get that tire an inch or 2 more to the right than it needs to be, and you'll do just what happened to Mayhew right there.
1 lap left to go. Brett Belden in that 81 is the driver on the outside looking in. Only 4 are going to transfer. We're back underway. Jason Knowles pulls out to a healthy advantage as they scoot into turn number 1.
Yeah, let's watch those. See the 4 cars right there. Belden just on the outside looking in, just as is Darren Peters. And Trapp got a good run that time out of turn 2.
It's all about momentum with these late models, and he's got some right now, does Mike Trapp. Goes to the outside of the racetrack. They're going to go side by side to the checkered flag. We've said that a lot this evening. Off the turn, and it's going to be the 70 of Mike Trapp scoring the win. Looks like Knowles, Turner, and Potts will sneak into the show.
Belden, Halliday, Peters, and Mayhew, they just missed getting into the feature race tonight. So our field is now set for the Gnome Cup at Utica-Rome. We'll get back to feature action when we return. The feature field is rolling on to the Utica-Rome Speedway for the 30-lap Gnome Cup for the Go Nuclear Late Model Series. Before the feature gets underway, let's go back down to the track and hear from our Paul Small about the current surface conditions on the action track of the East.
With apologies to UPS, what can brown do for you? Well, quite a bit tonight here at Utica-Rome Speedway, especially if you stay where the brown on the racetrack is, because that's where the moisture in the track is. Down here at the very bottom inside lane, it's nice and brown. But when you get up here in the middle of the racing surface, this is where the rubber is starting to meet the racetrack, and it's slicked off and it's slippery. This is no man's land. At the very top of the racetrack, more of what brown could do for you. More bite, but you're dancing very close to the outside edge of the track, and it's easy to get over that lip. Master where the brown is on the racetrack, and you may find yourself at the front of the field in tonight's feature.
You know, and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, Rich, the two distinct grooves that are usually here at Utica-Rome Speedway. And he's right. You want to find that brown, get at least two of those tires in there. Chances are you get a little bit better bite than the guy who's running in the black.
And Dan Harpel and his crew know what to do with this racetrack. They've got it down to a science, and some of the drivers, it's still a little bit of a guessing game. Again, the only race all year that the late models compete here at the Utica-Rome Speedway. Some guys like Lee Gill, they've never run a late model here at Utica-Rome, but Lee is on the pole. He did win his heat race, and we're going to have 26 starters as Potts and Bellier added in with provisionals. Potts was light on the scales in the B main, so Brett Belden did get in this Gnome Cup event.
30 laps, 26 cars, like Rich told you, going for $1,500 for the winner. They just did their 4-wide salute to the crowd. The fans waved back, and now we're ready to tell you who is going to start where in this Gnome Cup event. Again, race number 3 of the 2015 season for the Go Nuclear Late Model Series. Lee Gill, J.J. Coursey, they're on the front row.
Laszlo Holyfield, Kevin Cook in row number 2.
Bryce Davis, John Waters, a couple of BRP guys in row 3.
Aaron Jacobs and Chris Fleming in the 4th row.
Johnny Hill and Billy Isley in row number 5.
Yeah, these are the drivers that didn't finish in the top 2, like A.J. Kingsley, Dale Caswell, Alan Fink. Some big names starting back in the pack. Sean Beardsley, Charlie Sandercock starting back in 17th. Surprised to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cars back here that are capable of winning races. Jason Knowles, another one of those guys. Adam Turner, Brett Belden. There are some strong cars coming from way in the back here in this Gnome Cup at Utica-Rome.
So 26 cars strong, ready to go 30 laps. This is a longer race with the track being so large. And it'll be fun to see guys like Sandercock, the driver that comes in with the official points lead. And Lee Gill, the guy that's chasing him, starting on the pole. We're underway.
Lee Gill goes right to the bottom side of the racetrack. You can see Coursey going way up high, and the number 39, Kingsley, works the middle in the 3. Down low, that is Laszlo Holyfield, and he's going to fall back just a bit.
A great scramble by a bunch of cars for second, third on back as Kevin Cook goes down to the inside in that blue 3K. Laszlo Holyfield keeps the car pointed in the right direction, and Coursey hangs it up on the top of the racetrack. Contact for spot number 3. Holyfield gets to the inside of Kevin Cook.
And you see Lee Gill already pulling away as they go 3 wide for the number 2 spot. Holyfield, a better run that time. Kingsley kind of caught in the middle there.
Always a situation where if your car works well on the bottom to start, it'll come in as the run goes along, as the top will start to give away. Caution is out on the racetrack. A.J. Kingsley comes to a stop in turn number 2.
Oh, that's a tough break for him. He had a good starting spot up towards the front of the field. Driver who knows this track. Oh, and a flat tire for the trap number 70. Earlier, we asked the drivers how they prepared differently for a nuclear tour race based on what they do at the weekly tracks.
There is a little more focus put into the race. You know, on a weekly night, you know, you're just kind of more relaxed, having a good time. The tour races puts that a little extra edge into it, where you put the more fine detail to the stuff.
A lot of heavy hitters that come to these series races, so you just got to keep your head cool and run your race.
I've got a pretty good system down at my home track, but touring to all these new tracks, it's always new challenges, slick tracks, more different drivers. We kind of get to know our regular Saturday night guys pretty well, know how to deal with them, but out here it's anybody's ballgame.
Well, this one we make sure that all the fresh tires are on, make sure that we try to bring our A game. Most importantly, though, with the group of guys that we have, it's really focusing on making sure that we have a good time.
He's right. And, of course, the one thing that's different, like with dirt racing versus a lot of other things, you have your weekly competition and then your traveling series where the best of the best come out. You get good at your local track, then you hit the road.
Exactly. And this is a unique thing about the Go Nuclear Tour is there's pockets of drivers. There's drivers from the southern tier of New York. There's drivers from the central New York area, drivers from Brighton Speedway, just east of Toronto in Ontario. So you got 3 different pockets of drivers coming together. And then you got Lee Gill, who's from Can-Am, and he's pulling out in front of the field.
And they call it Can-Am for a reason. Canada, and America. That's where they draw from. So a little bit of everything for the driver of the 125. Oh, a little contact there at the middle of the pack for Bryce Davis.
Got into John Waters, a pair of Southern Tier drivers coming together as they scoot back in the pack. Here's Charlie Sandercock mired outside of the top 10. Brandon Ford.
Where's he going? Where's he going there, Rich? You know, there's no place to stick that car in there. That's the one thing that makes it a lot more difficult when you come at the back 3 wide again. Look at Waters down on the inside.
And look at Aaron Jacobs slicing through the middle. He goes from 5th, might get 2nd, right through the middle of the 3 wide sandwich. Oh, but he's got to slide up the racetrack a little bit. J.J. Coursey back around him on the outside of the 39.
Love it.
John Waters on the inside, 3 wide for 2nd.
That's a good battle going on right there. And you can see Jacobs had to change his lineup just a little bit. I'm impressed with Holyfield. We just saw him in that number 4 car, still running in the runner-up spot behind Lee Gill. He is having a strong run here early on.
Yeah, I said 3 wide for 2nd, 3 wide for 3rd. And now Waters gets up to 2nd. And John Waters, he had the car to beat for quite a long time at Oshweekend, and he's had a good car tonight. Caution is out as a car's over the bank in turn number 1, Adam Turner in the 92.
Oh, there's a guy who was coming down here hoping to have a strong run. He's won a lot of late model races, runs up north of the border primarily. He brings out our second caution of this 30-lap Gnome Cup. We'll be back for more on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. Planning a trip to Victory Lane? Let Atomic Chassis get you there. Atomic chassis are built with a high attention to detail using superior parts from trusted manufacturers such as PPM, Winters, Bernheisel, Bilstein, All-Star Performance, Vulcan, and many more. With superior craftsmanship and materials, you know Atomic will last. And since each customer becomes a part of our family, you aren't treated like just another number. So visit AtomicChassis.com today to plan your next trip to Victory Lane.
Sick of staticky headphones you bought at the dollar store? Come to your senses and enjoy music once again. At Sense, we recognize that not one size fits all. It's your music. Sense believes it should be your choice in how to listen to it. Enjoy crystal clear audio with comfortable and fresh styles that suit you. Don't conform to the norm. Get what you want and listen with your senses.
Electricity. You flip a switch, the lights go on. But will we have safe supplies of electricity to meet our fast-growing needs? Today, nuclear energy provides 1/5 of America's electricity. Tomorrow, it could supply even more. And nuclear power plants don't emit greenhouse gases, so they preserve our environment. We need to reduce our dependence on foreign energy. And we also need clean air. With nuclear energy, we can do both. Nuclear, putting clean air energy to work.
If you're enjoying these late models on the Atomic Power Racing Hour, you need to be there in person. The Go Nuclear Late Model Challenge Series is coming to a track near you with all the dirt-flinging, side-by-side racing, and bumper-to-bumper action that you can handle. Come see the cars and stars of the Atomic Power Racing Hour as they battle for bragging rights. The series is coming to a track near you, so don't miss out on your best opportunity to experience what all the hype's about. It's the Great Crate Race coming to Brighton Speedway, Saturday, September 12th.
Welcome back to the Utica-Rome Speedway. We are under yellow with 3 laps complete in the Gnome Cup here at the Utica-Rome Speedway. Doug Elkins and Rich Vleck up here in the booth. 2 cautions have slowed the pace of the race so far, but nobody has slowed down Lee Gill, our race leader.
Yeah, Lee's been good. The great battle for second on back has been 2 and 3 wide, but Lee's been in his own comfortable zone, and he had the car to beat at Can-Am earlier this year on our tour race and got caught up in a lap traffic spin. He had to spin himself and got back up to second. So really no surprise to see him out dominating on a big track.
Yeah, another half mile just like we had at Can-Am, and look who's right there. Laszlo Holyfield in second place. Again, impressed with what he has been doing, and the same with J.J. Coursey, a couple of guys who don't run a lot of these tour races occupying that second row.
And keep an eye on John Waters. He was back. He had got to second, but the lap didn't count. They went back. He's now in 4th again. But I like what his number 11 is doing as the driver is hunkered down into turn number 1, and here comes Aaron Jacobs working through the middle again.
Boy, that's the same move we saw him make right before the yellow, but this time it might get him second place.
Yeah, it might. He works up to the top of the racetrack, kind of drives down from the top through the middle, and he's got second.
Impressive for Aaron Jacobs. Again, a guy who's run this track in so many different divisions. It's been a long time since he's won here, and I think J.J. Coursey's got a problem.
Tough break for Coursey. He had been running in the top 2. Looks like he will clear off, and we will stay green. But he had a good run going all night long and almost had a heat win, had a top 2 run going, and now is off the racetrack. Contact between Caswell and Davis, and Sandercock gets into him.
Well, we're going to stay green, it looks like, as everybody's still going.
But unbelievable. Dale Caswell, two-time series champion, defending champion Charlie Sandercock. They're in the back. First ever champion Lee Gill is leading, and here comes Aaron Jacobs.
Jacobs on the outside. Gill's been primarily running that bottom line most of the race, but Jacobs has got a good run here on the outside.
You know, it's sometimes tough when you're the race leader to know where the fast line is.
That's true.
Lee Gill ran the top in his heat race and picked up the win. You maybe should have set up for that right now, as Jacobs has got the car hooked up in that number 16.
Well, I think he saw him that time. Lee's pretty sure, because sometimes you're right. When you're the leader and you're running out front and you're running a groove, you think, okay, I can stay here. There's no problem. Meanwhile, Aaron Jacobs, he's got the race lead.
Aaron Jacobs into the race lead, a guy that is a low-dollar racer, brought both his sportsman and his late model here to the local track, but has struggled to get things going. He's into the race lead in front of his hometown fans.
Yeah, and a lot of tracks, that's what you see. Aaron Jacobs will bring this really long trailer in. A lot of times he's got, like Rich said, two different cars, and it might not even be late model and sports, but could be a modified some weeks as well. You name it, Aaron Jacobs has drove it. Right now, he is driving away from Lee Gill.
Boy, he's able to power through the middle of the racetrack where everybody else is slipping and sliding. And again, that's the standard procedure. The bottom lane has some bite, and you could drive off quicker. The top lane, it's getting pretty wide, but he's making that work. A couple drivers have fallen back. Laszlo Holyfield runs in 6th in the 4 car. Kevin Cook is in 7th, as a few other drivers are starting to move up, like Billy Isley and John Waters.
Yeah, Laszlo ran as high as 2nd there for a good part of the race, but it looks like Kevin Cook might get him. This is 3 wide for 10th place right here.
Boy, Bryce Davis, Brandon Moat, and B-Main runner-up, Jason Knowles. Jason Knowles going for 10th. Remember, he started back in 22nd.
And look at the damage on Bryce Davis's number 94.
Yeah, I'm impressed, though, by Knowles in that 4 car. Like we said, up 13 or 12 spots here in under 12 laps, and they're closing in on Johnny Hill in the 160.
And we got to get Paul Small over there and talk about the aerodynamics going on in the Bryce Davis car right now, because that's not helping. Here's 2nd place. Lee Gill had the lead early, but now he's getting a little bit of a challenge.
And you see how the Gill 125 has moved up to the top of the racetrack, going, I've got to follow in Jacobs' tire tracks. Maybe he's found something up there. Jacobs still drives away. John Waters has been committed to the bottom all night long, and actually earlier this evening when he spun around in his heat race and still ran the bottom to get back up into 2nd. And he's got a very smooth race car down on the bottom of the racetrack looking for the runner-up spot.
And remember, just a few laps ago, we were talking about Lee Gill running the bottom, not knowing that the top was fast. Now he's trying the top, but here comes somebody getting him back at the bottom as they're catching slower cars at the back of the track already.
And that could affect the line for Lee Gill in the red 125. Brett Belden, the first car they're going to come up and lap, and Gill kind of shoves it down to the bottom. Good move, and also blocked the line, as it were, for John Waters, but Waters is now side-by-side for the runner-up spot.
Feeling bad for Belden, too. I'm sure this is a race he was coming into, hoping he was going to get a win. And look at this, Phil Potts has already been lapped. Of course, this is back further. This is 2nd place here, so the leader's already gone by, so some good cars getting lapped here at Utica-Rome.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're going to go 3 wide into turn number 3. Gill knows he needs to slide up in front of Potts to retain his momentum. Waters scoots off the bottom a little bit, and I thought he would get him there, but I think he just missed that brown clay, that soft stuff, off the bottom of turn number 4. Looks like he might hit it this time, though, and Waters is up into 2nd.
And you got to give Turner some credit there. He could have raced them harder, but he knows these are the guys in 2nd place. The leader's already gone by. That's when you gentleman's type deal, you let him go, live to race another day.
Yeah, and Jacobs is running in on more lap cars
Look
now,
at this.
3 wide in front of him. And this is where it could get dicey. Aaron Jacobs is a lot of times a guy mired back in traffic, and leading a race is a little bit different. Yes, he has experience in a lot of different race cars, but you get those nerves and the butterflies past halfway, and boy, we got a 3-car battle for 2nd now.
And you can see they're about a third of a straightaway behind the race leader as we watch this 3-car race. Billy Isley, another one of those guys, actually Lee Gill knows him pretty well. They raced together up at Can-Am. He's trying to get him now for 3rd.
Yeah, Billy Isley, this is a great run for him. We've been chronicling Jacobs for so long. Isley came into this event last year, did not qualify, and in the inaugural race at Utica for the series finished in 12th. So kind of out of the blue for the driver of the number 18.
Of course, he knows the half miles well, just like Lee Gill, a guy who, unlike a lot of these guys, he actually came from sportsman competition, not the IMCA modified. Oh, look at this. He's got a good run on the inside, but unfortunately, the slower car of A.J. Kingsley is pretty much right in his line.
Yeah, A.J. Kingsley brought out that first yellow, and he's been having trouble moving forward. And I think the track's very even right now. 3 wide, make it 4 wide with the lap car. And Lee Gill has taken second back. That's a good move right there by the veteran, getting back into the late models this year after taking a few years to run a modified. And he and John Waters continue to duel it out for second.
Don't forget about Billy Isley now. He's cleared A.J. Kingsley, and at the same time, he's getting a little look at what's going on a little bit off the bottom, which was primarily the line he was running. I just love this shot right here when you see these cars go through the corners.
Well, we got the onboard camera view that Lee Gill has no idea what's going on. He just has to feel where the other drivers might be running. You see John Waters has moved up to the top of the racetrack as well. So these drivers searching for a new line. And as they do that, Aaron Jacobs continues to slice through the lap traffic, and we've just got 10 more laps left to go.
Yeah, he is already almost down to turn 1 while these guys are still coming out of turn number 4. And you can see Isley trying to get that line back on the inside part of the racetrack. Got some room down there, just can't get the nose under.
Yeah, Aaron Jacobs has lapped Dale Caswell and Charlie Sandercock, among others. That is hard to believe. Some of the favorites entering the night getting lapped by a guy that I don't think anybody thought was a favorite. He's been working with Josh Richards a little bit to get some setups, the World of Outlaw late model driver, and he said that had helped. I talked to him earlier today about that. Just lapped Brian Knowles in the number 7 and just continues to set sail by running a line that nobody else has been able to do, which is right through the middle of the black.
Yeah, remember the last race we were up at Can-Am? The race he actually talked to him was Fonda. That was the night before Can-Am, so he's had a little time to work on the car since then, and you can tell with these late models, they talk about the left rear tire actually driving underneath the car, the way they stand up on the torsion bars. His car is in that pose that every driver wants their car to be in, just running up under the car and just lifting off the ground and getting great bite.
How about Bryce Davis? He had fallen back to 10th. We showed that with the damage. Maybe this is a good thing for aerodynamics. Oh, he slides up the racetrack in the 94, but he's battling Chris Fleming for a spot back inside of the top 5. Impressive to see for the driver that finished 4th in this event last year.
Well, he's had some laps to get used to whatever handling characteristics that damage has created to the car, and Gill just lapped Charlie Sandercock as well. So, man, this is a surprise to see Sandercock down in this race.
Yeah, I mean, he's back around 18th, 19th place as the yellow flag will fly. Kevin Cook has come around.
Oh, that's a tough break.
And this will make things very interesting.
Yeah, Kevin Cook, another one of those IMCA guys that moved up. He'll catch up with a little bit of damage on the left front. We'll be back for more and possibly the conclusion of this race here as the Gnome Cup visits Utica-Rome Speedway. Welcome back to the Utica-Rome Speedway here on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. We have just 7 laps to go in the 30-lap feature event here from the Utica-Rome Speedway. Aaron Jacobs has been the man to beat. And before this yellow, Rich, he was pulling away and making his own line.
Yeah, and he had sliced through a lot of lap traffic. Now the lap cars get removed, and you've got some guys right back on him in Lee Gill, Billy Isley. And the field rumbles off at turn number 4, and here comes Gill after Jacobs for the race lead.
Gill's going to try the bottom. That's the line he was using early in the race. He's going right back to it now, but Jacobs, look at that thing stand up. He's going to pull away, and look at Billy Isley now up to the position number 3.
Yeah, Waters is scooted back a little bit. Here comes Bryce Davis on the back of the 11-4 position, number 4. Battle for second between Isley and Gill. Gill staying true to the inside of the racetrack once again. And here comes Bryce Davis trying to get to the spot he finished in last year in 4th and battle for second.
Isley down on the inside. I am impressed with what Billy Isley is doing here at a track he doesn't know well. He might have Lee Gill here for that spot, but Lee Gill charges back on the outside.
The Battle of Lafargeville, a pair of drivers that call that North Country town home. Duking it out for second. Greg Bellier going for spot number 6 on Jason Knowles. Look at him to the inside for 5th on John Waters and 4th Bryce Davis. Bellier started 26th, needed a provisional to get in because he didn't qualify through his heat of the B main. And Bellier driving the wheels off his number 25, looking to get 4th from 26th place. What a run.
Sounds like that caution came out at exactly the right time for him. And he's got the spot. He's up to 4th. And now does he have time to catch the guys in front of him? We'll find out as we watch this battle for 5th.
Maybe just needs one more restart. I mean, he was outside of the top 10 when that caution had come out 3 laps ago. Davis is 5th. Waters is scooted back to 6th. A tough break for him, who he was running in second for a while, just like he was in the last race at Ohsweken 3 weeks ago. And the drivers stretching it out, including Aaron Jacobs driving away, battle for third.
Wow, Greg Bellier just coming to the front from 26th. A couple of guys also know each other pretty well from running up in the North Country. Bellier, of course, he's a little bit further up from that area up in Ontario, but these guys know each other well. They're battling right now.
Yeah, Bellier is a big reason why Lee Gill's back in a late model this year. You see Excel Tower Service sponsoring both of those race cars, so they work in collaboration, and Bellier scoots down to the bottom, makes it stick, and he is up into third. What a terrific run by the Gentle Giant.
And I wouldn't imagine what Lee Gill's thinking right now. Man, he started 26.
Yeah.
How's he passing me here? So, meanwhile, though, final lap for Aaron Jacobs. Got a slower car. That's Brett Belden just ahead of him. But if he can get through this lap cleanly, he could win this thing.
Remember, it was Belden and Jacobs that came together in the heat race. Jacobs still came back and won the heat. Said he had a good car for the feature. I guess so. How about this one, Doug?
Wow, coming out of turn number 4, the upset. Special here today at Utica-Rome, pumping his fist out the window. Aaron Jacobs with a surprising win. Billy Isley, strong run coming across in second.
Greg Bellier, a terrific run as well in third. Gill and Davis round out the top 5. Amazing. Aaron Jacobs, the local favorite from right down the road, with his first ever Go Nuclear late model win. And nobody saw that coming into tonight.
No, I could just imagine how he's feeling right now in that race car. We're going to get a chance to meet a very excited race winner when we come back.
Need a better way to listen to music? Come into the 21st century with Tenace Home Cinema and Music Systems. Tenace provides music impeccably reproduced from the world's most outstanding manufacturers. If we carry it, we believe in it, as if the musicians are playing live in your home. Knowledge matters, quality matters, and when that point comes to upgrade, Tenace will be there.
If you're enjoying these late models on the Atomic Power Racing Hour, you need to be there in person. The Go Nuclear Late Model Challenge Series is coming to a track near you with all the dirt-flinging, side-by-side racing, and bumper-to-bumper action that you can handle. Come see the cars and stars of the Atomic Power Racing Hour as they battle for bragging rights. The series is coming to a track near you, so don't miss out on your best opportunity to experience what all the hype's about. The series in Bates Mohawk for 2 big nights, September 18th and 19th.
Planning a trip to Victory Lane? Let Atomic Chassis get you there. Atomic Chassis are built with a high attention to detail using superior parts from trusted manufacturers such as PPM, Winters, Bernheisel, Bilstein, All-Star Performance, Vulcan, and many more. With superior craftsmanship and materials, you know Atomic will last. And since each customer becomes a part of our family, you aren't treated like just another number. So visit AtomicChassis.com today to plan your next trip to Victory Lane. The upset is official here at the Utica-Rome Speedway as hometown underdog Aaron Jacobs cleared the scales and decided to celebrate with some grass donuts as he is the winner of the 30-lap Gnome Cup. With dozens of friends and family members in attendance, it is one crowded Victory Lane as everyone wants to get in on the celebration for this first-time Go Nuclear winner. Let's go down to Paul Small, who is caught up with our man of the hour.
Aaron Jacobs about to get the Gnome Cup trophy here from Shane Tenace. There we go. We'll get it pointed the right way around in the handshake here for tonight's Go Nuclear Late Model Series feature winner. Aaron, you said after the heat race you thought you were going to have something for the big boys. Boy, did you.
Did I don't know. I was just watching those laps tick away, and I seen the caution. I said, I don't know if I want this or not, but, you know, lap traffic was a little tough, but we were getting through it. And you know, just to do this, win this race here, it's just unreal.
It looked like it took about the first third of the race for the car to come in, and then when it did, you were just gone, jackrabbit.
I don't know. I was just counting the laps and just trying to keep her going, and I tried everything. It's unreal.
As career wins go, is this the biggest, or does it rank up there?
This is definitely the biggest win. You know, we've won before in a late model, and then we've won in IMCAs, and this is definitely the biggest win. And, you know, I can't thank Shane enough for putting this series together. He gave me a smoking deal on this car, and I got to thank him for that.
And I understand you had a little help from another late model driver in getting this car turned around to where it is now.
Yeah, you know, the World Outlaw show back at Fonda, you know, we've been struggling. Josh Richards spent about a half an hour with me. He told me a bunch of things to do. We got it going in that direction, and the car is unreal. I got to thank Greg Bellier for the use of his starter, and, you know, it's just awesome.
That's Aaron Jacobs, winner tonight of the Gnome Cup.
Let's take a look back and find out how he did it early on. It was not Jacobs, it was Lee Gill at the front of the pack.
No, in fact, Aaron Jacobs redrew 7th out of 8 possible positions, so he was mired back a little bit, but on a lap 4 restart, you see that 16 from 5th up to 2nd through the middle, the place that nobody else could hang. He got by Laszlo Holyfield, put it up to the top of the racetrack, and then went after Lee Gill, and that was really the key. And you know, that I think that's the whole story of tonight. You saw Greg Bellier go from 26th to 3rd. If you could hook up your car, you could go by anybody.
That's true, and Jacobs here would go by the race leader, although Gill would make it easy, but he just couldn't hold Jacobs back. Once again, over in turn 2, he was magic over there.
Yeah, Lee Gill had a good car, just and it was evident by the way he was able to hold off John Waters, who was pestering him here about halfway through the race. The 11 car looked like he had 2nd taken away. We had said it at the time that it looked like Lee Gill had gone back to 3rd, but he was persistent on the top of the racetrack. And again, call to the crew preparing this racetrack today. Great side-by-side racing possible. Guys swapping all over the lanes. Gill got back up to 2nd, but after the final caution and the last restart, Billy Isley, he made his car stick on the bottom. He got 2nd away from Lee Gill.
Yeah, it's a track you don't think about Billy Isley having good runs at, but he certainly did here. Greg Bellier, here's what you were talking about. 26th place he started.
And he got up to 3rd and made a great run at the end of the race, picking off 6-7 cars in just that many laps. But as they were battling it out for the 3rd position, Aaron Jacobs was the man on cruise control. And look at the fist out the window.
It's exciting to see. Let's check in with our runner-up here tonight.
Runner-up finisher tonight in the Gnome Cup, Billy Eisling. You came through the field, man. You had to do some work tonight.
Yeah, it was a long ways. I didn't think we'd ever, the way it started and everybody was kind of going for position, I didn't know where to go at first, so I was just kind of riding, and then all of a sudden as the tires got warmed up, we started going forward and made a couple passes on the top where I really didn't think I should have been. But we made some headway, and we just kept plugging away, and next thing I know, we're 3rd, John Waters or whoever it was, and Lee, and I was very surprised to get by Lee because he's tough to beat, and thanks go to him for helping me a little bit tonight. So to pass him, I kind of felt bad, but, you know, he's a great guy. So
he is a great guy, but all's fair in love and war, and Billy Isley winds up in the runner-up spot.
And isn't that interesting? He got help from the guy that he passed late in the race to get that. So Jacobs gets the win, and wow, what a night for him.
And a lot of guys had a good, kind of odd night. Aaron Jacobs, Billy Isley. And it's interesting that Isley comes home in 2nd because I think Aaron Jacobs just pulled off the biggest upset in Tour history. Billy Isley probably had that 2 years ago when he won his first ever late model race at his hometown event at Can-Am.
Laszlo Holyfield, 11th. He was the last car on the lead lap. It's a lot of guys that went down laps, and look at Charlie Sandercock all the way down there in 20th place.
Amazing. Dale Caswell in 18th. Sean Beardsley, 17th. Yeah. Guys that you figured were going to be the ones to watch out for tonight.
Only 4 cars didn't finish this one. J.J. Coursey had a good run going early. He ends up in 26th place. He's got to feel a little tough about that one here, but let's meet our 3rd place finisher here tonight.
Now, your winner, Aaron Jacobs, passed a lot of cars tonight, but a lot of those were lap cars. This guy started 26th, and he winds up finishing 3rd. Greg Bellier, this is a nice turnaround for you, man.
Yeah, we really struggled in the time trials, the heat race, the B main, and I was fortunate enough to have a meeting in there with Lee Gill and Charlie Sandercock, and we've made a change on this car, just a simple 1-spring change, and wow, this thing came to life, and I was very fortunate to go out and keep a clean car and just be patient and drive through, and I'm very happy coming 26th to 3rd.
It was the drive of the night for Greg Bellier.
What a night it was here for Aaron Jacobs. Like we said, this is race number 3 of the Go Nuclear Late Model Series, and here's how we look after 3 of 11 races.
Lee Gill is now the points leader if you take all 3 races into account. Isn't it interesting, Doug, that our 2nd and 3rd place finishers gave credit to Lee Gill and Victory Lane, saying that he helped them.
Yeah, both Billy Isley and Greg Bellier, but that's the thing about this series. There's a lot of guys. Now, here are the adjusted standings, and what we mean there is the worst finish will be dropped, right?
Right, it's early in the year, so you're only taking your best 2 out of 3 finishes. So Charlie Sandercock gets to drop his 20th place finish tonight and still hangs on to the important points lead in that one.
course, he'd still have to get in the rest of the races to have one to drop in the first place, but there's our top 3, and here's a look at what we're going to do next.
Cornwall and Humberstone going north of the border to some smaller racetracks. Haven't done that this year. And then the first trip ever for the series to the Weedsport Speedway. That will air in November. The race is in October.
And if you went to that place years ago and you think you know it, boy, they've done a lot to put that place as one of the top places around in our area. So that's where we will be next as we say goodbye from here at the Gnome Cup at Utica-Rome Speedway here on the Atomic Power Racing Hour.